Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Supercharge Your Science Instruction with Expedition Learn. My name is Chris Heinz. I'm the Director of Customer Experience. I have a few of my wonderful colleagues here. Delilah Reed is one of our partnership managers in the Northeast, and a couple colleagues, Anika Bennett and Pamela Cyphers, who are also wonderful. I did not mean to omit the word wonderful from that description, who will be helping us monitor the chat as we go through today's session. So I am Director of Customer Experience. I've been at Britannica for about 3 years. My job is really to help folks who have access to Britannica's vast resources, make sure that they get the most out of those to support classroom instruction and support the work that students are doing in the classroom. Delilah, do you want to do a quick introduction as well?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Chris. So I am Delilah Reed. I am the Northeast Partnerships Manager here at Britannica Education, and I am coming up on my second year here. I'm very excited about that. And I assist all districts, administrators, teachers, educators find reputable, vetted content for their schools.
Awesome. Thank you, Delilah. So the purpose of today, we are going to go through just kind of a quick intro. We're going to talk a little bit about who Britannica Education is as a organization. And then we're going to do a demo of Expedition Learn, which is our newest curriculum product here at Britannica. Throughout the whole session, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. We will have some time at the end for Q&A and next steps as well. But Britannica Education, so as you know, very old company, right? 1768 was our first publication. And a lot of people, I think, recognize kind of the nostalgia of the Britannica brand, right? And when I go to conferences and when I speak with folks out in the field, we get a lot of, oh, I remember you guys from the dusty shelf in my parents' house, or, my grandpa went door to door selling Encyclopedia Britannica. And so we get a lot of that nostalgia, and we really like to tout our innovation as a company. So we've been around for a very long time. But with our education branch, we really focus on building materials that are going to create these meaningful experiences for students. And we do this through a really diverse collection of digital solutions. So we have some digital solutions that work really well in the Library Media Center with our Britannica School, Britannica Library products. We also have some curriculum-focused products like launch packs and what we're going to talk about today, which is Expedition Learn. We really work hard to provide tailored support to our customers, as well as our professional learning opportunities. So that's the team that I'm a part of, really making sure that folks have all the training and support needed to get the most out of those resources, but also create those really meaningful experiences for students. So into that, we'll talk a little bit about Expedition Learn. So Expedition Learn is an instructional platform. We do have standards aligned interdisciplinary lessons to really help build content knowledge, enhance vocabulary, and build students' critical thinking skills. And one of the things we'll be focusing on today is how can we save time in the classroom? We know that your time in the classroom with students is extremely valuable. So how do you make the most out of that time? Whether you're in a block schedule, whether you're in 45-minute class periods, making sure that you're utilizing that time and we're providing a resource that can really help to maximize the time that you spend with your students. The other thing we'll talk about is really the importance of science education. So Delilah, I'm going to kick this over to you as our resident science expert.
Yes, awesome. Thanks, Chris. So, as you all know, I am a partnership manager here at Britannica Education, like I shared a little bit before. But in my former life, I was a middle school science teacher for about 10 years. So I am always excited to discuss science and chat a little bit more about why science instruction is important in our schools. skills. And I think in order to prepare students for careers in STEM education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine, it's really important for our students to have strong backgrounds in science education. So as an educator, I know that the work that we do today, specifically in our classrooms, will have an impact on our leaders for tomorrow. So for today's webinar, I will post some questions that I often had as a middle school educator, and I encourage you all as well to ask questions about how Expedition Learn can support your teaching in the classroom.
Awesome. Thank you, Delilah.
Thank you.
So as we kind of, again, frame this around two questions, the first one is, how do I get the most out of the time with my students? And so Expedition Learn does have some key features here. The big around really high interest topics. The engaging lesson materials, we've really tapped into our Britannica editorial team to build high interest articles, videos, visuals, customized content to really help make this come alive in the classroom. And then finally, in terms of our assessment questions, we've built this not in a standard, here's all your multiple choice questions, but we've really tried to utilize different question types to have students manipulate technology, knowing that those types of questions are ones that they'll see on their digital assessments for state or local assessment purposes, and that these are all aligned to science-specific skills. And so the goal is really to drive student learning through this usability and rigor, provide these, all-in-one platform, um, give students opportunities to practice these skills that are aligned to some of their testing blueprints, and then quickly launch from lessons into hands-on activities. So I'll show you what all of this looks like. We've provided some teacher guides, some materials to help extend learning beyond the platform as well. So quick overview just in terms of how these lessons are designed. Everything starts with a spark. And so I will show you kind of an intro here of different spark videos that are really designed to spark student interest in a particular topic. Then we build student knowledge through trusted Britannica content, through images, through articles, and we've built some accessibility tools in there for students as well. Then we want to connect to student experiences because we do believe students bring their own funds of knowledge to the classroom, their own areas of expertise. And we really want them to connect to their own experiences as they apply the knowledge that they learn in the platform. And then finally, connect to other resources, connect to hands-on activities, and really find ways to explore additional content from Britannica. The other driving question here is, how do I use data to drive my science instruction? And so as we go through this, we will share some of our in-depth admin dashboards. I'll share some of the teacher reports that we have as well, but really trying to make this a product that teachers can return back to and see these data reports to help identify those areas of strengths and weaknesses for their students, or not weaknesses, strengths and areas of growth for their students, so that they can really help to build those skills and get students prepared to be responsible digital citizens moving forward. So I'll show you a little bit of what this looks like here in the teacher reporting areas, and then our admin dashboard, which gives kind of administrators a look into some insight into how the product is being used in the school or district. All right, Delilah, anything to add before we jump into the demo? Any questions we've seen come through in the chat so far?
No questions in the chat just yet, but as you go through the demo, I'll address some of the features too. I'll pop right in and discuss, what could be beneficial and helpful in the classroom. But again, if you have questions on how do you think this could be used in the classroom, please feel free, put it in the chat and we are monitoring that for you all.
Perfect. All right, so without further ado, let's jump in to Expedition Learn. So users, this is your home page. This is your front page when you log in. And there's a couple things that I will speak to here at the top. This is where all of your kind of tools as an educator live. So if you're looking for additional resources, we have built out some toolkits, which I will speak to in just a little bit. This will show you where, as a teacher, you can find and assign content, and then any assigned lessons that you have, and then reports show here as well. But let's first go through kind of how we find our lessons and what the lessons look like. Bear with me one second. Let me make sure I'm not using up all my bandwidth here. So the first thing to point out as I'm looking through all of this content here, and our focus today is science, but we do have lessons that are built for both science and social studies. So if you subscribe to both, you will then have access to both of those. We're going to live in the science realm for our purposes today. The lessons are also built at grade levels 3 through 5 and grade levels 6 through 8. So we have these kind of tailored for late elementary and middle school students, really helping them to build their science knowledge within this context. There's a couple different ways you can look for lessons. You can just go ahead and see kind of the newly published lessons down here. So as you're searching, you can kind of see what strikes you as something that might be interesting. And again, we really do try to tie into things that students may be interested in. We have a lot of content that aligns with popular curriculum topics in the classroom. You'll see things like we try to connect to student interests. So for compound machines, you might see things about pizza. Mixtures and solutions, you might see chips and salsa, things that are designed to really get students interested and tap into their own interests as well. So you can go ahead and you can search through those. You can also do a keyword search if you're looking for something particular, or you can do a search by standard. So as you're looking at your curriculum standards, this is a really easy way to see what lessons can address particular content. So I'm going to go into grade 6, and I'm going to go into my science standards. I am in Illinois, so we'll do this search here. And as it loads, oops, we went to a different thing there. Apologies. So as the content loads, we can see here are the curriculum standards that are displayed for a particular state-focused standard here. So as we're looking at Illinois science standards, you can see all of the lessons and how they align with Illinois science standards. So a nice way to give your teachers the ability to find content that matches the curriculum standards that they're teaching in their classes. Okay. I'm going to take you through a lesson really quick. So let me go ahead and do a keyword search here and find our content for lunar phases. So this will be kind of our demo lesson for today. So if I go in here, you can see we've got this keyword search that is tagged in a few different places. We'll go ahead and click on this lesson here for grades 6 through 8. So lessons, we do have kind of a quick summary here at the top, as well as some objectives. If I click on this, it will take me back into that curriculum standards browse. So I'm able to see state or national standards and how they are aligned with this particular lesson. The other thing I like to highlight here is this teacher materials PDF. We know that in some cases, teachers have told us, even as students are using devices, it's really important for them to manipulate technology, but it's also really important to have content that can be addressed outside of the classroom as well. So when we look at this teacher materials PDF, we have kind of everything broken down for the teacher. Here's your summary, your objectives, your standards that are addressed, and your skills. We have some common misconceptions, so things that students may struggle with these particular topics. We then have some information here about kind of exploring the lesson and what you can expect to see in here. And then at the end of this, we have our extension activities. So what are some activities that teachers can do? What are some lessons that teachers can implement that take students from the concepts and the skills that they're building in Expedition Learn and allows them to explore and extend that learning beyond the platform itself. So really kind of a nice way of breaking down the lesson, giving the teachers, whatever they might need in order to access content from Expedition Learn. As a teacher, you're then able to assign content, so you can create classrooms, you can import classrooms from either Google Classroom, or you can roster through SSO. But as a teacher, you're able to assign content to a particular class. You can adjust the reading level for your group. So if you want to, give a easier article for students to read, you can adjust with 4 different Lexile bands. I'll also show you in kind of the classroom feature how you can adjust individual students' reading levels as well. You do also have the ability to let students check their answers. So you can toggle this switch on or off if you want them to be able to check their answers before they submit that content to you. Okay. Now that we've set the table with everything, let's jump into the lesson itself. So as I mentioned, it's a very simple format. We start with a spark. We then build student knowledge. We connect to their own individual experiences, and then we offer them the opportunity to learn more. So the Spark starts with a video. This is designed by Britannica's editorial team and our subject matter experts to really cater to student interests and get them interested in the topic that they're about to learn about. So let me go ahead and press play, just give you a quick sample of what this looks like in the lunar phases lesson.
I can't get over how bright the moon is tonight.
Did you know that the moon isn't a light source? Its surface is actually reflecting the light of the sun.
So again, I like this one here. It gives us kind of that comic book feel, right? Kids kind of interacting with the content here. The videos are short. They're typically somewhere between 40 seconds to about a minute and a half long, to really just kind of be that quick intro to the topic that's going to be covered here. Couple things I do like to point out. If I click on closed captions here, the captions are generally toggled on for users. So you're able to kind of have that there as an accessibility tool for students. If you go into settings, you can actually adjust the settings of the closed captions as well. So if you have a student who has an IEP or a 504 plan that requires them, or it allows them to have subtitles in either a different font or a different color, or something that is going to allow them to process that easier, you can go ahead and you can change those settings so that the subtitles match what is appropriate for that particular student. As I scroll down, we then like to highlight our vocabulary. So we front load all the vocabulary here. These are the terms that students are going to come across throughout the lesson. We have this provided by our partner company, Merriam-Webster. We do also have a read aloud.
Lunar, adjective, of or relating to the moon.
So you can hear that content read aloud for students also. And you'll see this throughout the lesson, this little read aloud. The content on the screen can be read aloud for students to allow them to easier access that information. Then we have a quick free response question based on the information in the video. What's one conclusion you can draw about the changing appearance of the moon? So we're already asking students to really apply some of the knowledge that they've learned from the Spark video. In some cases, you may see a question here where we're asking students to tie this into their own experiences or things that they know and kind of their prior knowledge as well.
And I'll jump right in really quick, Chris, and say that this would be an excellent way to introduce a topic if you wanted to utilize the Spark section as a do now, or for a quick whole group instruction. Now, if you are utilizing Expedition Learn as your precursor to a lesson to introduce the background knowledge, that's a great way to utilize it. Or if you're using it at the end of a lesson, perhaps after you've already done a lab, this is a really nice way to reintroduce the background concepts.
Awesome. Thank you, Delilah. I like the classroom application and kind of practical application of these tools is wonderful.
Definitely.
All right, so let's move into kind of the meat of the lesson here, the build section. And if I click on this up here, you can kind of see the roadmap of the lesson. So we start with 1 Spark, then we have 5 sections where we're really building student knowledge, 4 where we're asking them to connect, and then a Learn More section at the end. So the build, this is where we really tap into Britannica content here. And this is all bespoke content. This is built for Expedition Learn. This is not stuff that you're going to find in other corners of the internet. We're really, one of the things that we do stand by here at Britannica is our editorial process and producing really high quality, accurate, relevant, and up-to-date content. So our subject matter experts have worked really hard to build this content and provide a really good background for your students as they go through these lessons. So what you'll see in the build sections here, you'll see images, all your copyright is there, making sure everything's properly cited. That's another thing we truly believe in at Britannica, is making sure that you cite your sources as well. And then we do have some nice accessibility tools here. So read aloud, I've kind of showed you how that worked in the vocab section. You can also translate content into over 100 languages using Google Translate. And so you can see now all of the content on this page has been translated. If I hover over, it'll highlight that individual passage, and then you'll see the original English text as well. This is machine translated, so please keep that in mind, but this can be a really powerful tool for your multilingual students as well. You can print the content. We have seen some schools that have used some of the articles in Expedition Learn as part of large group instruction, so you can print that content as well and give hard copies to your students. And then you can adjust the reading level. And so when a student is in here, as long as the teacher allows it, the student can adjust between 4 different reading levels to find the Lexile range that is appropriate for them. So I scroll down to the bottom of the page, you see we have kind of broken up the text with inline media. We do have some kind of did you know insets to break up the article text as well. And then we get down here to the bottom and we have our first question. So we ask the student, now that we've read this article, we've tried to build this knowledge. The moon doesn't generate light, it reflects light from the sun. What's another way to state this information? And so getting students to kind of engage with the material. I'm going to do one that I believe is wrong, and we'll check the answer. Oh, got it incorrect. And then we'll go, oh, light produced by the sun bounces off the moon. So again, that is a feature that you can toggle on or off for your students. You can allow them to check the answer. They're able to check it twice. If they get that wrong twice, then they have to submit whatever their third choice is. Next build section, here's where we see some of the questions where we're again asking students to manipulate technology. So we do have some drag and drop fields here, some ranked answers as well. So really getting students to become comfortable in that environment for the assessments that they'd be taking. All right, Delilah, anything about the build that you wanted to share before we move to Connect?
Yeah, I love that. I think how I would have utilized the build section when I was teaching would probably be for centers. I love teaching centers because it gives students the autonomy to build their content area knowledge. So I think this would be a great addition to your classroom to utilize. The print feature, really awesome tool. Digital burnout is a very real thing. So I think it's important to offer that as well, in addition to the translation features, of course, and the differentiated Lexiles. And I know that we touched on that Expedition Learn is geared for grades 3 through 8, but because of those differentiated reading levels, I have seen this push down to lower elementary as well as upper and middle high school levels.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and that's a big piece there is, not every student is going to be reading at the same level. The ability to differentiate and scaffold, with those Lexile ranges can be really powerful for your students also. All right, let's jump into Connect. This is our third section here. So now we're really focusing on, now that we've kind of sparked their interest, we've built their knowledge, now we're trying to get them to apply knowledge in this context as well. So again, we have just a series of questions where we are applying the knowledge here, right? And so again, we're able to check our answers, and find the correct ones. And that time I didn't get it right. So let's go this way and we'll submit. We do provide kind of a few kind of image-based questions here as well. So in this one in particular, we're talking about constructing and interpreting models, and we're really focusing on those NGSS standards. So we provide a model here, and now we want students to apply the knowledge they've learned within that particular setting as well. Okay. And again, as a teacher, you're able to see their performance and how students are performing across these different skills throughout the lessons. Delilah, anything in terms of the Connect section that you would add as a science teacher?
I also just love some of the images that we have here and as use of models, like you shared a bit. Depending on the lesson that you're teaching, as well as some of the images that you may see, they can be used for phenomena-based instruction. But again, depending on as you advance through the build and the connect, you can pull some of those images out to be used for different question sets with your students.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then going to our last section here, learn more. This is where we provide some additional article, video, image content as well. One of the things that you will start to see in these science lessons also in this Learn More tab, and let me go ahead and switch to a different browser tab here, is you will start to see more hands-on activities. So in this case, this Create a Lunar Phases Model activity, again, really designed to extend that student learning beyond the Expedition Learn platform, getting students to really start to apply the concepts and the skills that they're learning in these lessons. And we provide everything that a teacher needs here in order to implement this. So we share kind of what standards, how your materials need to be, what safety precautions you need to take in terms of kind of setting this up in the classroom. We introduce the concepts, we have a procedure, and then we provide the space for students to complete these activities as well. So we give you a worked example, and then we provide a chance for students to complete these as well. The nice thing about these, printable, able to be used outside of the digital space. Digital fatigue is a real thing, so making sure that we're tapping into kind of students really applying these concepts in this hands-on space as well. Delilah, anything to add about the hands-on activities?
Yep, really excellent for performance-based assessments as well. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit further, but this is a great way to extend the learning and ensure that your students are grasping the concept that they learn throughout the build and the connect sections.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's go back into the platform here. Couple things that I do want to share before we wrap and then open things up for questions. So the resources tab here, there's a couple really helpful documents. The first is our quick start guide, which just kind of goes through everything a teacher needs to get started here. We have a new document, using Expedition Learn in the classroom. So how can we take these materials and resources and apply them in the classroom setting? Then we have our teacher toolkits, and these again are really designed to give options for teachers to teach these skills outside of the Expedition Learn lessons. So for example, we were just looking at constructing and interpreting models. So if I go ahead and click on this toolkit here, again, you have a printable PDF. We have a few mini lessons that can be used to enhance that particular lesson and focus on that particular skill. And as I scroll down, you have links to any graphic organizers or other content that you might need. You can print out these models, comparing models, and really give students the opportunity to complete these in, outside of the digital space there. The other thing, if I can go back to this tab here, I do want to do a quick overview of the reports. So when I go into my report section here, you can see two types of reports. You can see lesson scores reports. So let me go ahead and show you a middle school science, and we'll go to structure of matter. And as I pull this data as a teacher, I can see for an individual lesson, what students' skills were being assessed on these particular questions here. Orange represents our build, green represents our connect. You can see if the students got these questions correct or incorrect. If I hover over a student answer, I'm able to see how much time they spent on that particular item. At the end here, I'm able to see how much time they spent on the item or the lesson as a whole. And then if I go ahead and click on an individual student, I'm able to see all of their free response as well as their question answers here. So we'll see the incorrect and the correct answers, so where the students were struggling. Sometimes knowing which wrong answer the students put can give us some insight into where the student is struggling and what concepts they may need some additional support with. If I can go back to my other reports here. So I'll go into my skills reports. This one I'll show with the social studies, just because this displays well with our demo data. So as I look at this, this shows us how students perform across concepts that have been practiced and what areas they've mastered or what areas they're struggling with across all of the lessons they've completed. So if they haven't gotten to a lesson that includes that particular skill, you'll see not practiced, but then you're able to see how the students are performing across these skills, across all of the different lessons that they've completed in Expedition Learn. Last thing I want to show you as a teacher is clicking into our class settings here. And so one of the things that you can do, let me find my class here. I think I went the wrong way. I probably should have gone left, but that's okay. So we'll go into our elementary science. And one of the things that I did want to share here is this set students reading levels. So when I have students in my class, right, I'm in an elementary science class here. Let's say my students are in 4th grade. It'll show you what Lexile range you have, how that corresponds to different grade levels. And then I can go into each student in the class and I can set where I want their reading level to be, right? So for example, this student is at a level 4, this student's at a level 1. I can go ahead and adjust that content as needed. I can also lock that content, right? So if I want students, if I know that a student is struggling and I want them to get that content at a level 1, and I don't want them to be able to change that level themselves, you can go ahead and click lock all, and then that student will be locked into that particular level. Obviously, as a teacher, you can go in and change that whenever you want, but that setting is available to kind of give students the content that's appropriate for their reading ability and where they are at that given point. All right, so I think that takes us to the end of the demo. Delilah, was there anything you wanted to add before we kind of pop back in here and open things up for questions?
Awesome. We do have a couple of questions coming in. One, where do we find the extended lesson that we shared? The one that had examples of the work and then left the blanks for them to do their work. So that was the lunar phases that you did this lesson, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you mean the yes, the hands-on activity. So that one is going to be added to the platform. That is something that the team is working on. So we do have that currently in PDF, that those will be added as they are ready. Where you will see those is in the Learn More section. So once you finish the lesson, you'll see that as kind of an extension activity at the end there. So great question. The other thing that we wanted to talk about, and this is my team chiming in here, is our professional learning colleagues. We do offer a lot of professional learning and support around our products as well. So more to come here, but we are really focused on not just providing training and support around the products themselves, but how can you deepen your content knowledge using this content and deepen that connection with students. So one of the things that you'll see from our professional learning team, we do have our Essentials Plus package, which is really designed to help users become comfortable with the platform. But we can extend that to coaching on inquiry-based learning, or project-based learning, or really focusing on, science standards and how to address that in the classroom. So, much more to come from our PL team, but we are here to help support you as users in the classroom, and really to make sure that you're getting the most out of these materials for your students as well. All right, so that takes us to the end here. Delilah, Anika, are you seeing any additional questions for us to address?
I'm not seeing any on my end. Anika, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I did have a few that came through. Thanks, Chris. It was really cool for me to see the way that the project is working. A question that came in was someone was asking about the leveled text. So they said that they see that there is a leveled text feature, and can Expedition Learn be used for RTI or remediation?
Yeah, definitely. I think, Chris, if you don't mind, I'm going to hop in on this one.
Please do.
So I love the fact, and I always like to bring it back of how would I use this in the classroom for myself. And I think that's really important when I'm connecting and working with administrators, educators like yourselves. So for RTI, I would utilize this in a way where we take the data, like you saw with Chris when he showed you the reporting feature. And in order to show our student growth, it's really important to analyze where they're at. So utilizing the data that you saw in the teacher assessments is important. And then you can pull the teacher tool guides and teacher guides as mini lessons, or utilize for small group for your students to enhance some of the skills that they do need additional growth in. So absolutely, I think I would have absolutely utilized this for RTI or even small group instruction.
Thanks so much, Delilah. We have another question that came through. It says, could licensing options be available for non-teachers for further enrichment, for parents?
Sorry, I had to hit unmute there. Great question. Something that currently we are in the school space. So this is all being sold through school and district partnerships, but something that we could certainly explore, and something we can definitely run to our product team to see if that's, something that we would be able to do in the future. But yeah, awesome. Thank you for the question.
We have another one that came through. How can it be used to help with lesson planning?
I could chime in here, Chris, if you'd like.
Say that sounds like a Delilah question to me.
Yeah, I think this is really great because it offers a paced, ready-made grab and go lesson. So this Expedition Learn lessons can be utilized in the span over a 45-minute class periods, or for those schools that have double science class instruction. I think it's very flexible in how it can be utilized. So you can, again, use this in a shortened class period. You can extend each of the lessons out over the course of the week, the first day starting with a spark and then building into the build, no pun intended, and have students, go through each of the sections in center forms or autonomously, and then utilize the learn more as that hands-on component. So it's very flexible and customizable to the work that you're already doing in the classroom, but it's really there to support. Another great feature that I like to consider Expedition Learn for is the grab and go lesson. So, if you want to ensure that you are still on curriculum or hitting standards, and perhaps you have a shortened day and it's a half day and you want to make sure that you are hitting on all of your important standards that you need to meet, this is a great option for that. Or even if you have a substitute in the class. So what I love about Expedition Learn is that it offers that flexible, creative lesson planning.
Nice. Thank you, Delilah. And this might build on what you just explained in terms of lesson planning, but a question came in that says, how do you use it for individualized learning for students?
Yeah, I think I mean that is really how it's built, right? Is to make sure that we're getting content to students at an individualized level that is appropriate for them. So we have seen kind of the features of the platform are really built for students to, demonstrate their learning in that individualized fashion. So we've kind of seen it in multiple ways, like Delilah spoke to, right? Different ways for implementing as part of large group instruction, as part of centers or small group instruction. Some folks have mentioned even flipped classrooms and using this as kind of a knowledge base of, this is something that students are going to do at home, and then we're going to really focus on the questions in school. So there's no shortage of ways that you can really implement this, but again, it is really built for that kind of individualized learning platform for students and meeting their unique needs.
Thank you. And then the last question that I have is, how can it be used to help with performance-based assessments?
Perfect. I think we touched on that a bit earlier with the hands-on lesson activities, as well as the extend section or the learn more section. So students can take the content that they utilize and learn throughout the build and the connect, and then apply what they learn for more of that project-based learning, performance-based assessment work to extend their knowledge further.
Thank you both so much. Those were all the questions that I had on my end.
All right. Thank you, Anika. So that kind of brings us to the end here today. So thank you everyone for joining. If you are interested in learning more about Expedition Learn, we spent about 40 plus minutes here. I could spend hours, but nobody wants me to do that. So we'll wrap things here. If you're interested in learning more, you can scan the QR code or go to britannicaeducation.com/expedition-learn. You can get a more personalized demo and get some more information from our team as well. So again, thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate your time. Hope this was helpful and useful for everyone in attendance. And if you have any further questions, please go to our website or reach out to our team, and we're more than happy to help. So thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Chris. Great job, everybody.
Thanks, Delilah.